If you've ever wondered why you can't let go of the past, this video will give you the answer. You're going to learn why old mistakes still affect you years later, why emotional wounds don't simply disappear with time, and the exact shift that helped me stop carrying childhood trauma, failed relationships, anxiety, and regret into every part of my life. Because for years I thought I understood what was holding me back. I didn't. For most of my adult life, I thought my biggest problems were divorce, redundancy, financial pressure, anxiety, and feeling like I was constantly starting again. Every time life knocked me down, I'd focus on whatever had just happened, the latest setback, the latest disappointment, the latest failure. What I didn't realize was that most of those problems weren't actually starting there. It took me years to realize something uncomfortable. The roots of many of my struggles weren't in adulthood at all. They were buried much deeper, long before the divorce, long before losing jobs, long before anxiety started running my life. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. When people hear the phrase childhood trauma, they often imagine something dramatic. But trauma isn't always what happened to you. Sometimes it's what was missing: stability, safety, encouragement, emotional support. And the strange thing is that you can leave childhood physically while still carrying parts of it emotionally for decades. As children, we learn survival strategies. We learn how to stay safe emotionally. We learn how to avoid pain. The problem is that those same strategies often become the things that hold us back later in life. If you grew up around conflict, you might become a people pleaser. If you grew up feeling criticized, you might become obsessed with approval. If you felt unsafe, you might overthink everything before making a decision. Those behaviors helped you survive as a child, but they can quietly sabotage your adult life. And here's the part that changed everything for me. Most people think they're trapped by what happened. They're not. They're trapped by what they believe happened means about them. But that again, the event is over. The story isn't. Losing a job hurts, but then the story becomes, I'm not good enough. Divorce hurts, then the story becomes, nobody will ever love me. Failure hurts. Then the story becomes, I always mess things up. The event happened once. The story gets replayed thousands of times. This is why so many people can't move on. They're not reliving the event. They're reliving the meaning they've attached to the event. Every time the memory appears, the story gets reinforced. And every time the story gets reinforced, it feels more true. You've probably heard people say, time heals all wounds. I don't think that's true. Time helps, but time alone doesn't heal anything. Understanding heals, awareness heals, action heals. Plenty of people spend 20 years carrying the same pain because they never question the story behind it. This is where most advice falls apart. People tell you to let go. They tell you to move on. They tell you to stop thinking about it. Nobody explains how, because you can't let go of something you still believe. Deep down, you still believe you're not good enough. You'll keep collecting evidence. If you believe you're broken, you'll notice proof everywhere. If you believe your past defines you, you'll keep living as if it does. The biggest thing keeping most people stuck isn't the past, it's the identity they've built around the past. Everything started changing when I stopped asking, how do I let go of the past, and started asking a different question. What if the thing keeping me stuck isn't the past at all? What if it's the story I've been telling myself about the past? Once I understood that, I discovered something even more important. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending things never happened. It's about learning how to stop letting those experiences control who you become next. In the next part, we're going to answer the questions everybody asks. How do you forgive yourself? How do you heal emotionally? How do you stop replaying old mistakes? And why do some people finally move forward while others stay trapped for decades? Before we continue, I'd like to ask you something. When you think about your past, what's the one memory, mistake, or experience that still has more power over your life than you'd like it to? Leave your answer in the comments. You might be surprised how many people are carrying something similar. One of the biggest questions people ask is why some people seem to recover from terrible experiences while others stay stuck for years. I used to think it came down to strength. I thought some people were simply tougher than others, but after everything I'd been through, I realized that wasn't true. The difference isn't that some people never get hurt. The difference is that some people eventually stop building their identity around what happened to them. Others spend years protecting a wound that should have become a lesson. The longer we repeat a story, the more it becomes part of who we think we are. Eventually, we're no longer somebody who experienced rejection. We're a rejected person. We're no longer somebody who experienced failure. We're a failure. We're no longer somebody who experienced trauma. We become somebody defined by trauma. When that happens, the story stops being something that happened to us and starts becoming who we think we are. The question that changed my life wasn't, how do I let go of the past? It was something far more uncomfortable. Who would I be without the story I've attached to it? That question stopped me in my tracks, because some of those stories had been with me for decades. They'd become familiar, they'd become excuses, they'd become part of how I understood myself. Letting go of the story felt like losing part of my identity, but that's exactly why it needed to happen. When people search how to forgive yourself, they're usually carrying one of two things: something they did or something they didn't do. A mistake, a missed opportunity, a relationship they should have left sooner, a chance they should have taken, a conversation they wish they'd had. What makes it so painful is that we keep imagining a different version of the past, a version where we knew then what we know now. Here's what helped me. Every decision you've ever made was made with the awareness, confidence, and understanding you had at that moment. And most people judge their past self using information they didn't have back then. Think about that for a second. Putting today's wisdom on yesterday's decisions. That's not growth, that's punishment, and punishment rarely changes anything. Regret feels productive because it creates the illusion that we're learning, but most regret is emotional time travel. We keep revisiting the same place, hoping for a different outcome. We replay the conversation, we replay the decision, we replay the mistake, but the past never changes. The lesson can change, you can change, the meaning can change, but the event stays exactly where it is. If you've ever wondered why you keep replaying old mistakes, here's the answer. Your brain thinks it's helping. It believes that if it analyzes the event enough times, it'll stop it happening again. That's why overthinking feels so convincing. Your brain isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. It's just using the wrong strategy. The problem is that protection eventually becomes a prison. The problem is every replay keeps the wound open. Every replay reinforces the emotional charge. Every replay convinces your nervous system that the danger is still present. You can't move forward while mentally living somewhere you've already left. And that's why so many people feel exhausted. They're carrying today's challenges while simultaneously dragging yesterday's pain behind them. When my life was falling apart, I didn't rebuild it through motivation. I rebuilt it through promises, tiny promises, promises so small they sounded ridiculous. Get out of bed, go for a walk, make one phone call, read one chapter, fill in one application. That's it. People underestimate small promises because they're obsessed with dramatic change. But dramatic change is usually built on boring consistency. Every promise kept became evidence that I could trust myself again, and trust changes everything. Because when you stop trusting yourself, every decision becomes harder, every setback feels bigger, every challenge feels overwhelming. But when trust starts returning, life becomes lighter, not because your problems disappear, because you know you'll handle them. Because people wait until they feel confident before taking action. I spent years doing exactly that. Then I realized confidence isn't the cause. Confidence is the result. Action comes first. Confidence follows later. Nobody feels confident before they've proven something to themselves. That's why small promises matter so much. They create proof. Letting go isn't forgetting. It isn't pretending something never happened. It isn't pretending you're fine when you're not. Letting go is choosing not to allow that experience to decide who you become next. That's the difference. You honor the lesson without carrying the weight forever. If you've been carrying something for years, I want you to hear this. Your past explains you. It does not define you. The mistake doesn't define you. The divorce doesn't define you. The rejection doesn't define you. The childhood trauma doesn't define you. Those things happened, they mattered, they shaped you, but they don't get to decide who you become next. The moment you stop building your future around your past is the moment your future finally starts changing. When people ask me how to let go of the past, they're usually looking for some magical answer. some moment where everything suddenly feels better. In my experience, it doesn't work like that. Change usually starts with a decision to stop replaying the story, decision to stop defining yourself by what happened, a decision to make one promise to yourself and actually keep it. That's where rebuilding begins. Now, for your question, if you could finally let go of one thing from your past, what would it be? A mistake, a regret, a relationship, a belief about yourself? Leave your answer in the comments, because chances are somebody reading it needs to know they're not carrying theirs alone. And if this video helped you see your situation differently, I'd love you to subscribe. Everything I share on this channel comes from real experience. The mistakes, the failures, the anxiety, the setbacks, the rebuilding. My goal is simple: to help you build a life that actually works. So if that's something you're working on too, subscribe and join us for the next one. In the next video, we're going to tackle something that keeps millions of people stuck for years: why overthinking feels productive and how to stop letting your mind run your life. I'll see you there as we continue this journey together.